morning, everybody, and welcome to a new edition of Casualty 911 this Monday morning on 88.5 Super FM. It is always a pleasure to be here with you. Last week, I was here all by my lonesome, and this week, oh, it's a full house this morning. It's a wonderfully full house this morning. I would like to say a special welcome to all of our regular listeners. We love having you. For those of you joining us for the first time, I hope that you will enjoy the program and it will motivate you to join in every Monday morning at 10 a.m. for Casualty 911. I am your host, Fawn Minviel, and today we have one and a half guests. We have our regular guest. I think I can call her a regular guest by now. We have Mrs. Fadia Campbell, who is speaking on the topic of breastfeeding this morning, given that we are in the middle of Breastfeeding Awareness Week, which is usually from the 1st to the 7th of August annually. So Mrs. Campbell will be speaking about the advantages of breastfeeding for the baby, for the parents, for families, for society. And I have I have convinced a young lady here to be on camera. And I think she'll be here maybe just for a couple of minutes on camera, but I have convinced her, and she's going to tell you her name since she won't be doing much talking today. She will be introducing herself and telling us what her interest is in this whole program and topic. So please go ahead.
All right, good morning, Sufre and environs. My name is Edira Eugene, and I am a nutrition and dietetics student at the University of the Southern Caribbean, Maracas, Trinidad. I have been doing my internship in the community, and I got the opportunity to do this program, which is very interesting. So I'm very excited to expand my knowledge, and let's have fun this morning. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
So thank you again for agreeing to be on. And I think I'll leave you on for a little while. When you get tired, we can zone you out of the camera. But you look wonderful and you spoke so well. And I'm sure you'll be able to contribute to the discussion this morning. So, Fadia, thanks again for joining us. As you always are. I think we've spoken about this topic before, but the fact that we have to continue speaking about it, it lets us know that there is an issue in terms of breastfeeding, and there must be some challenges. There must be some challenges involved in all of it. So this is why every year we have to speak about breastfeeding. We have to speak about breastfeeding and ensure that the information is getting out there to our mothers and prospective mothers. So welcome, Fadia.
Okay, so good morning to everyone, and thank you so much, Fawn. Thank you for giving me the opportunity again to be able to speak on the topic of breastfeeding. And welcome, Idira, as well. It's nice to see you on. Thank you so very much, and good morning to the listening audience. And it is a pleasure to be here as always. Are you hearing me well?
Yes, very clearly.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So, as you alluded to a while ago, we are in the middle of World Breastfeeding Week, and every year we have what we call WABA, which is the World Alliance for Breastfeeding Action. You know, they bring together the entire global community to raise awareness about the importance of breastfeeding and its advantages. So this year, WABA, they have chosen this theme, which is prioritize breastfeeding, create sustainable support systems. And this is the theme for this World Breastfeeding Week, which is from the 1st to the 7th of August. All right, so the film basically speaks to support, support at home, support within the community setting, support within the family, because we know that, you know, prioritizing and supporting breastfeeding will reduce the growing even climate. It has an impact on the climate as well. So that film speaks to different aspects, and we're looking at different perspectives of support.
I would also like to add support within our healthcare facilities, because I would think that most women, 99.9% of women in St. Lucia, give birth in a hospital. So it really starts from there. That first contact would begin in a health facility. So the support needs to be there as well, because that is an integral part of how the breastfeeding journey will play out.
Oh, yeah. Yes, most definitely. Yes, because we need that support, like you said, within the hospital setting. When, you know, the mothers, they go and they give birth to their infants, they need that kind of support from the healthcare providers and, you know, the system itself.
Absolutely. So how do we start off this discussion, Fadia? Would you like to start off, as since we mentioned the health facilities, although I know that before birth, within the health centers, our public health facilities, the wellness centers around the island, there are clinics that women go to prior to going into the hospitals for birth. So there is that level of um, education that takes place within the public health system. As to what transpires within the private facilities, I cannot really speak to that. But there are opportunities within the public health system for women to get some knowledge, to ask questions, to speak about their concerns prior to going into the hospital to give birth. Now, the thing about it is, sometimes we have a lot of information, but when the time comes to actually implement and to do what is necessary, there are challenges that can arise. So support is needed when those challenges arise. So theoretically, we may know, but in practice, that is where support really comes in. So would you like to start prior to birth, or should we start at the time of birth?
Okay, so we can start prior to birth, which is what we call the antenatal period, where the mothers, they come in for the antenatal clinic, and where the nurse, the health care workers as a team, they provide information that this mother would need in order to navigate, her antenatal period, and of course, after she would have given birth, as to how she initiates breastfeeding. And there is a lot of information that is given. So the nutritionist will come on board and speak about nutrition during pregnancy, and of course speak about breastfeeding as the optimal feeding for the infant. And the nurses, they're going to do their part in terms of education on care of the breast, how to have a good latch, bonding, and there are various aspects of breastfeeding that is being taught or discussed with the antenatal mother. So that is prior, that is before the mother gives birth, and before she goes to the hospital and gives birth, and then she has to initiate breastfeeding. So yeah, so that aspect of the antenatal is taken care of when the clients they come to the antenatal clinic.
And let us stay in the antenatal period for a little longer and speak about. I don't think I heard you mention the diet. What I've noticed among, I would say, I've had some encounters with some young ladies, and it seems that the diet leaves a lot to be desired in terms
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
you know
Yes.
what they consume. I know pregnancy is a period where people tend to feel that they can just eat anything and everything, and they don't really have to pay attention to what's healthy and what's not, and the food groups and so on. But it does have an impact, I would think, on the breastfeeding, your ability to breastfeed, the quality of the breastfeed. You let us know, because I'm assuming that it would have some sort of effect on the breastfeeding journey, the quality and your ability to breastfeed.
Oh, yes. So, most definitely, I mean, good nutrition during pregnancy is critical for both the mother and the developing baby. So, nutrition during pregnancy does impact the quality of, I mean, the breast milk when that time arrive for the mother to breastfeed. So, it is very important to provide, that sort of nutrition, balanced nutrition during pregnancy. And, when we speak about nutrition, I always say that it has to be balanced. And we're speaking about foods from the food groupings that you, as the pregnant woman, would want to choose in terms of foods that contain the macronutrients, your protein and carbohydrates and fats, and especially healthy fats and the vitamins and minerals. So there it is that you, as the pregnant woman, you are preparing yourself nutritionally to be able to breastfeed that baby when the time comes. So you want to know that you're providing the right kinds of nutrients, the folic acid, the iron rich foods. So you have your food groupings that provide that base where you are able to choose and to be able to provide balanced nutrition, both for you as the mother and for the baby as well. So yes, nutrition does impact the quality and the consistency and the flow of the milk for that breastfeeding infant.
Okay. So now I think we can probably move on to the hospital. When we go into the hospital, you a woman would give birth, and then what happens? Sometimes you have a natural birth, and sometimes you have births that are a little more challenging. There are c-sections, and so a natural birth and a c-section would not be the same, right?
Mhm.
So generally
Definitely.
speaking, after giving birth naturally, your baby would be brought to you immediately, and there is a delay when there's a C-section or other complications. So how does that impact breastfeeding, if at all? And what can
Okay.
be done to mitigate those challenges?
Okay, so when the mother, I mean, goes to hospital to give birth, and like you alluded to, so it's either there's going to be a cesarean section or natural birth. I mean, the recommendation is that the baby is placed to the breast as soon as possible. As soon as this baby comes out, immediate initiation of breastfeeding commences. However, there are some situations that does warrant the delay in breastfeeding. However, I mean, it is based on, I mean, the midwives and the staff there that they try their best to initiate breastfeeding as soon as possible. But there are times it's not possible. And they may resort to formula feeding in some instances, but the best and the gold standard is to initiate breastfeeding as soon as possible, because breastfeeding is the optimum nutrition for the infant, and there are specific nutrients, especially what we call the first milk, which we call the colostrum, that the baby must get in order to get the full benefits of the breast milk. So in that period of time, that is being done. They try it as much as possible, the hospital staff, the midwives, etc. However, I mean, as the mother, there are many questions that they would, common questions that revolve around breastfeeding. So, for example, even the milk supply. Some mothers feel that they may not be able to supply enough milk, even during the hospital stay, or how frequent they are to feed that infant, even the latching concerns. How is it the baby has to latch? So that is where the education during the antenatal period becomes useful. So they would have
Support
been
within the health facility even more so that the theory and the practice can merge.
right, definitely, most definitely. So that is where this information comes, and it becomes very important so that you have the practical aspect of it. Because, I mean, suffice it to say, I mean, breastfeeding can be very challenging. It can be a challenge. So that is where I see the theme again. It comes around the support from the healthcare practitioners, from the family members, from the community, the employers. All right. And we'll speak about employers later on. All right. So, yes. So then there are some questions, of course, especially first time mothers. They would ask, is my baby getting enough milk? It is a top concern for many mothers. How often should I breastfeed, right? And baby should be breastfed on demand, meaning whenever they show signs of hunger. Newborns typically feed 8 to 12 times in a 24-hour period.
Okay.
All right. So other questions like how long should each breastfeeding last? That is another, set of questions that would pervade the minds of a new mother, you know. So there is absolutely no set time, but it's important to watch for cues that the baby is finished feeding, such as, slowing or stopping or even falling asleep. So that is an indication the baby would have been satisfied and would just gradually, get off the breast. All right. So these are some questions, even in the hospital setting, that, new time mothers or even those that may have a second or third baby would ask.
Because every baby, every child is different, and
Definitely.
situations are different for each birth, you know?
Definitely. Most definitely.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about the support. We've spoken a bit about the hospital setting, the wellness center. When the baby leaves the hospital, the baby goes to a home. So, what sort of support is necessary within the home? How can other members of the family provide that support? And when we have spoken a bit about the support, then we can speak a little bit more about the advantages. So once you have the support and the journey is going well, then we can speak about the advantages of having that breastfeeding for the baby.
Yes. So the baby now, the mother and baby goes home, and of course they would need that kind of support in terms of the family support. You have this newborn baby at home that the mother has to feed, and the support comes from the spouse. The support can come from other family members within the household in terms of assisting maybe with the house chores, so the mother does not find herself being stressed in order to do house chores and being able to breastfeed that baby, because breastfeeding also comes with being able to be relaxed. And the more you are relaxed as a mother, I can say that from experience because I would have breastfed two children exclusively. So you need to be relaxed in order to produce that milk, in order to get that flow from the breast so that you have sufficient milk to breastfeed the baby. So the support comes from other family members, the spouse being able to help in the home, help the chores. If there is even a younger child that, the other family members, they are able to take care of the younger children whilst the mother herself is relaxed and is comfortable and feels confidence in breastfeeding that new infant at home.
So traditionally, when a mother would go home, you would find probably her mother or other family members, the you know, extended family members would come in and do a lot of chores and provide support in terms of probably washing, cooking. So the new mother would have none of those responsibilities. However, our society is slowly changing. There are many people who don't have that type of support. They find themselves in situations where they have to do everything. And have you encountered any, in your experience, have you encountered women who have been affected negatively by that sort of situation? Or is it something where it is based on, you would think, maybe mindset that you don't have the support, so you just do what you have to do?
Yes. So, yes, in my experience, I would have, come across mothers that they do not have that kind of support because in some instances you might find single parenting, and that in itself would kind of deter the mother from breastfeeding very well, and that would, you know, push them to quicker introduce the formula. Yes, so um, that would, like I said, would allow them to, they would just might just give up on the breastfeeding and then resort to the bottle because it is so much, they think it is so much, it is easier, convenient, and all of that. But as we would delve into breastfeeding, we will see the benefits as well. So yes, there are situations where, I mean, some mothers may not be able to have that kind of family support. Some just raising their children all by themselves and all of that. So that is where again we need the support of even the employers, right? The society, the community. Yes. So yeah, there are these situations that exist as it relates to that kind of support at home.
So, right now, we will speak a little bit about the benefits of breastfeeding, the advantages of breastfeeding to the baby at that point in time and throughout life, throughout the lifespan. Throughout the lifespan, I always like to add with continued good nutrition because there seems to be, we speak a lot about the advantages of breastfeeding, the benefits, and it seems that some people tend to think about it as, well, I've breastfed, so I've done what is necessary, and because I have breastfed, that baby is going to have a wonderfully healthy lifespan, whether or not they eat well after breastfeeding has stopped.
Right.
I would
So,
like you to address that as well after you've spoken, obviously, about the benefits.
yes, definitely, definitely. But before I go into the benefits, I just want to um, let the audience know that according to the World Health Organization, breastfeeding, they recommend, WHO, they recommend exclusive breastfeeding from birth to 6 months. And thereafter, you continue breastfeeding. So after 6 months, that is where the introduction of solid food comes in, what we call complementary. So you continue to breastfeed, but you complement that with, and you slowly introduce solid foods to that infant. You do it slowly. All right. So I just wanted to set, the pace in terms of exclusive breastfeeding. This is recommended. This is the recommendation from our international health system, that you breastfeed your baby. And when we speak about exclusive breastfeeding, you do not include any water, no other formula, no milk, no toloma, no loangette. There's some persons in some instances, yes, they are breastfeeding. The baby is not, I mean, they have not reached 6 months yet, but they give the baby water or juice or toloma and that sort of thing. Unless medically indicated, I mean, if the baby has to take medication or something else that is medically indicated, then no other substance or food should be introduced to that baby. So that is what we call exclusive breastfeeding. Only breast milk for the first 6 months of life. All right, so let's move into the benefits of breastfeeding. And when I speak about breastfeeding, I get really excited about it because I would have done it. I would have exclusively breastfed my two boys. One is now 19 and the other is 11. And there are several benefits to breastfeeding as it relates to the baby, the mother, the family, the environment, the society. So let's look a little bit at the advantages for the baby. And as I spoke of earlier, breastfeeding, sorry, is the optimal nutrition for the baby. That means it is complete. It has been perfectly tailored to meet the baby's nutrition needs by providing the macronutrients, the carbohydrates, the protein, the fats, the vitamins, the minerals. So that is complete in itself. All right, so that is one advantage to the baby, optimal nutrition. Secondly, you have the babies being able to have stronger immune system. The breast milk, it contains antibodies, white blood cells, that protects these infants against infections and viruses, respiratory illness, diarrhea, etc. So if there is a virus going on, it is highly unlikely the baby is going to get it, because that, breastfeeding provides that sort of protection for the baby. I mean, in terms of allergies, there is less allergies and so on as it relates to breastfeeding, and benefits for the baby. You have lower risk of diseases. It has been shown in studies that children that would have been breastfed, they have a lower risk for developing type 1 and type 2 diabetes and certain childhood cancers. Additionally, breastfeeding, it is so complete, it is so good that, digestion is so much easier. Breast milk is easily digested, and it can prevent constipation and other, issues as it relates to digestion. There is also improved brain development because of the essential fatty acids that breast milk contains. Additionally, there is bonding between the mother and the baby breastfeeding encourages the skin to skin contact, and there is that close emotional bond between the mother and the baby. So there are so many benefits that are associated, or advantages that are associated with breastfeeding for the baby. I don't know if you want to comment on any of them before I
Well,
move
I would
on to the
like to
benefits for
comment.
for the mother. Sorry.
I love to put my 2 cents.
Yes, go ahead.
2 cents. I
That's
just
okay.
want to say that we have a comment from Rena Butcher. I believe Rena is a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
Rena Butcher, and she says breastfeeding is best feeding. So
Yes,
she's agreeing with you wholeheartedly. All
definitely.
right. So is there anything you'd like to say, Idira?
Okay, so all the benefits mentioned, they are very important and they are 100% true. So I'm hoping that everybody listening will take the advice that breastfeeding is the way to go. It allows the child to have a healthy weight also. So the child is not introduced to the carbs that we were talking about. They are solely on the breast milk, so there's nothing to say okay the child will be overweight or obese within that period of time.
Okay, thank you. You see, she didn't want to come on, and here she is talking. Wonderful. I love it.
Wonderful. Excellent.
Okay, so
Yes.
Fadia, on the issue of bonding, breastfeeding allows the baby to bond. Now, I want to just ask, there, there are a lot of instances nowadays where mothers are breastfeeding. When I think of bonding, I think of eye contact, I
Mm.
think of stroking the baby, talking to the baby, and so on while the baby is being breastfed. But there are a number of instances now where you see women breastfeeding their children, but they have the phone in their hand, they're looking at something, they're reading something, they're watching something. So there really and truly is no eye contact, there's no stroking, there's no talking to the baby. How does that, what implication is there with the use of the device while breastfeeding in terms of the bonding? And I mean, it's supposed to be one of the benefits of
Mm-hmm.
breastfeeding. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
how does it affect that in terms of being a benefit?
Well, breastfeeding and having a cell phone. I mean that means your the connection is, it is divided. You understand? So just having the phone and being on it and breastfeeding, to me, it does not give you the true essence or the true bonding, because there has to be the eye contact. It provides the eye contact. It provides the opportunity, for frequent and that intimate eye contact with the baby. You are communicating with that child, and having a cell phone, it defeats the whole purpose. To me, that is how I see it. And also the other aspects of bonding, where you recognize the baby's cues. That is where you have to learn the baby's cues as well, to recognize, to be able to learn even to their feeding cues, whether they're satisfied, and so on. So to me, having a cell phone and breastfeeding the baby, it really um, defeats the whole purpose of bonding, the true essence and the true meaning of bonding. So we would want to discourage mothers, when they are breastfeeding their babies, to give the baby your undivided attention. I believe that that is what it would be, in order to get that true meaning of bonding. Undivided attention. Put the cell phone away. Put it away, right? And even with the hormone that is being released, the oxytocin release. There is the physical act of breastfeeding that triggers that the release of the oxytocin to the mother, in both the mother and the baby, promoting the feeling of the love and the relaxation and the connection. When you have a cell phone, to me, that is going to defeat the whole purpose. Yes.
So we really want breastfeeding mothers essentially to give the baby their complete focus,
Yes.
to be focused solely on the activity of breastfeeding.
Definitely.
Sometimes people may talk about being bored, the baby is just there, so they're on their phones and it's helping them not to be bored. But you're actually supposed to be interacting with
Reacting. Yes.
order to get that benefit, to
Definitely.
improve the bonding experience between you and
Yes.
the child.
Exactly. I mean, you need to, like you say, have that interaction, speak to the baby. I mean, you've ever seen a baby that is satisfied and been breastfed? They want to put their toes in your face, their feet all up in your face, when you're doing that. So the interaction has to be there. Yes, yes. So you have to engage that infant as the mother.
So, Idira, have you ever noticed that?
Okay, so notice because I'm not a mother, so I've not gotten that experience
But
as
have
yet.
you noticed
But yes,
the
I've seen
youth?
it. Persons use their cell phone, and as Miss Campbell said, I agree to it that it takes away the bonding experience because it doesn't make sense. You're breastfeeding your baby. Sometimes you don't even see what's happening. You to me that's a good thing to take in, and then you missing that whole experience being on your phone, so it really takes away that bonding experience from the mother and the child.
Thank you for that.
Definitely.
So, it is something that parents need to be aware of because the phones, the devices are ever present. And when we speak about breastfeeding, people tend to think of just the act of putting the breast in the mouth and that's it. There's a lot more
Yes.
to breastfeeding in order to get the full benefit. So we spoke about nutrition, how you eat as a mother, what you eat, and the impact, and also the actual act of breastfeeding requires your full attention and focus in order to actually get all of those benefits and advantages.
Definitely.
So are there any other benefits that you'd like to highlight?
Yes, definitely. So we can move into the benefits for the mother. All right. So we would have looked at for the baby, and some of the benefits for the baby overlaps to the mother as well. Yes. So we're looking at for the mother in terms of postpartum recovery. Breastfeeding helps the uterus contract back to its normal size and can reduce postpartum bleeding. Yes, so that is a benefit to the mother. Additionally, exclusive breastfeeding allows for the mother to return even to her pre pregnant weight quickly. And I can allude to that. Yes, I returned to my pre pregnant weight in a matter of months. Yes, so
I
if
think
that is,
that's one of the things that a lot of women look forward to after putting on so much weight during
wait,
pregnancy, to feel a little
yes,
bit more like themselves.
yes. Definitely. So that is a benefit, a great benefit for the mother. Also, too, there is reduced risk of diseases. It is said that breastfeeding can lower the risk of breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and type 2 diabetes. Wow, that's amazing. Research has shown that even with the convenience and even saving, just think about, you know, the if in the absence of breastfeeding and families or mothers they resort to formula feeding, just think of how much money that has to be spent I think Idira, you the nurse, the time that you gave the presentation a few weeks ago, they would
Right.
have quoted the amount of money for a small tin of milk. I think it's in the range of what, 40, $50, and the
Yes.
child would consume that on a weekly basis. So just think about the amount of money that is spent just on formula. So the convenience and cost savings to the mother and even to the family, it is really, really great. So breastfeeding, it is readily available. You just have to make sure that it is clean. You clean your breast. You ensure you know it is clean, um, and you put the baby, you just put the baby to the breast, ensure that the baby latches on properly to the areola, that is the darkened part, not the nipple, or else you might run into problems where there can be engorgement and the baby may not be able to feed properly. So there has to be proper latching in order to have a good, breastfeeding experience. So yes, so in terms of the maternal benefits, we have spoken of the reduced risk of cancer and type 2 diabetes. There is also contraceptive effects in terms of, they're saying that breastfeeding can provide a natural contraceptive benefit. But of course, you'd have had to go to your nurse in order to get that sorted out. So don't just say, okay, I'm going to breastfeed and I will be
I
protected.
would even not have mentioned that, Fadia, because I'm sure there are a lot of people mun happy and sa.
Yeah, so that is why I quickly said that ensure that you go to your nurse, to your health practitioner in order to get it sorted
Being
out.
under the impression that they can't
No,
get pregnant yet,
pregnant.
and then
Mhm.
within 11 months, there you go, you have
Yes,
another
there
one.
you go. So make sure that you get it sorted out with your health practitioner, your nurse, your midwife, and just don't think that you're exclusively breastfeeding and then that you will not get pregnant. Yes, it is possible you can, but they're saying that it is a little, another maternal benefit. Yes. All
You
right. And
mentioned
of course,
something
the
earlier that I just want to go back to. You mentioned cleaning the breast, and I've heard people talk about the breast milk being salty. And when you mentioned cleaning the breast, that it brought that to mind because I remember a nurse saying, "Well, it could possibly be that you have been perspiring. You have been perspiring, so the taste that you think that's coming from the milk is actually your skin where you perspired. So you need to clean it. The baby does not want to be tasting all of your perspiration." And so, what are your thoughts?
Yes, so I would have heard about the breast milk being salty as well. And this is actually a myth. This is not true. And the same you would have said about caring for the breast and cleaning it properly. So the saltiness probably comes from the perspiration, because perspiration is salty. So that is why mothers must ensure that they clean their breast properly before they breastfeed the baby. But speaking about the breast milk being salty, I have heard it and it is a myth. It is not true. So it is good to have, take care of your personal hygiene before you are able to breastfeed that infant.
Wonderful. So let us continue with some of the benefits. We spoke
Yes.
about some of the benefits to the mother.
Mm-hmm. So, yes, so I would have covered the majority. Like I said, the emotional bonding that I would have spoke of, it promotes, breastfeeding promotes a stronger emotional bond between the mother and the infant. I mean, of course, the weight loss, I spoke about that already. So let's move on maybe to the benefits to the family. Healthy babies and mothers may require fewer medical visits. So since we would have, described or explained the benefits in terms of protecting the baby's immune system, the babies who are fully breastfed, they do not get sick easily. That in itself is a benefit to the family. So there is less, or less visits or fewer visits to doctors, right? Less medication, leading to lower healthcare costs and expenses. There is also the close bond that is created through breastfeeding. It can strengthen the family relationship. So breastfeeding is more than just putting, the breast in the baby's mouth. So there is that family bond. And of course, we speak about the emotional well-being in terms of the release of the oxytocin during breastfeeding. It can release stress, anxiety for both the mother, the child, and the entire family. So these are some of the indirect benefits that can be derived from breastfeeding the baby. I
So
don't know if you can think of any others at this point, Fawn, any others in
I,
terms of
I
the
would not
family.
add benefits. However, I would like to encourage people to think of breastfeeding not in isolation.
Mm-hmm.
I think I mentioned it previously. So when we speak about bonding, breastfeeding provides the opportunity for bonding. It is not automatic because, as we said, there are other things that need to be there. The focus needs to be
Mm-hmm.
there. Once breastfeeding decreases or ends, the bond that was developed during exclusive breastfeeding, it has to be maintained.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be replaced with other activities that would allow you to maintain that bond and improve the bond with your children as they grow. So we don't want to think of it as, sometimes people just think of things in isolation. So I breastfed my baby. So when my child is 10 years old, I will still have a good bond with my child at 10 because I breastfed. It does not work that way. It started, you initiated the bonding, but it has to
Mm-hmm.
continue by being replaced with other activities that would allow that bond to keep improving. I just want
Yes.
to put that in there so that people know that
Mm-hmm.
breastfeeding is not something, it's not like a magic potion.
Definitely. Exactly. Exactly. Right. Right. And I going back to, I think you would have asked me that question and it kind of slipped a bit. I would have mentioned it a little bit in terms of exclusive breastfeeding and the nutrition aspect. So, yes, you would have exclusively breastfed that baby. However, at 6 months, you want to introduce the feeding, complementary feeding, and what it is that you are introducing to that baby that is so critical for that baby's life, that infant that will grow and develop into an adult. So, whatever you would have introduced or fed that baby, that infant growing into, a toddler, a child, a teenager, and into adulthood. That is important. Yes, it is good, all well and good, you would have breastfed that baby, but the complementary feeding, the foods, that is why we have to introduce healthy, wholesome foods. And too many times, too often, we see, even in the clinics, that what it is that the parents they are feeding the babies and feeding the children, and it has to do with a lot of unhealthy foods, the junks as we call them, the unhealthy foods, the packaged snacks that are high in sodium, they are high in sugar, they are high in fat. We feel that the babies, how do the babies, how do they know about sugar and salt and sodium and processed foods? We are the ones introducing to the babies. introducing to the children. We are the gatekeepers for our children. So I just want, and it is like a little soft point for me because, yes, you would have done this good thing in terms of breastfeeding, that optimum nutrition that the baby needed, at the beginning of life. Continuing to feed that baby. What are you feeding the child? We need to go back. We need to, those new mothers, let us do it better. Let us give the children the fruits, the vegetables, the ground provisions, the peas, the beans that they need to grow and develop well, that they will be healthy citizens, that they will be healthy and very productive later on in life, because the research is showing that whatever that would have been fed to you as an infant is going to impact your health later on as an adult.
So we have to think of it as a lifespan. So breastfeeding is the beginning. It's the beginning, it's the first opportunity. But the effort has to continue in order to reap the full benefits of the breastfeeding that was done at the beginning of life.
Definitely. Most definitely. Yes.
You were so passionate.
Yes.
I think
Couldn't wait to talk about it.
left us inside.
because
Yeah, boy.
because we sit, in my experience, I sit all the time. The icicles and the box juices with a lot of sugar that is being given to children. Up to yesterday in church, I'm seeing this, young mother just giving the child sweet biscuit, sweet biscuit, sweet biscuit. And I'm like, her other older daughter had to tell her, but mommy, from morning you feeding the child sweet biscuit. And I'm like, yes, why are you doing that to the child? The child was like almost maybe a year. Why are you giving that child so many sweet biscuits? Quick cookies, yes. And I'm like, imagine the older daughter had to tell her, mommy, from morning you feeding this child up sweet biscuits. So I sit all the time.
So
So we
there is
need
the
to,
family support right there.
yes, family
You look at
support
it
right there. We
well.
have to encourage each other and eat healthy as a family. What is in season right now? What fruits are in season these days? We have mangoes and what else?
Apple,
Give,
pom.
yeah,
Mango season, no
apple and
child should be
I
constipated.
mean, exactly. Guavas, yes. So the vitamin C and the minerals that the children they need to grow and develop well rounded and balanced, nutrition for our children. Yes.
Absolutely.
So
Okay. So we've spoken about the wellness centers, the hospital, the home. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, we can look at it both ways. Women make up a large portion of the workforce. So
yes.
I say I don't know whether to say fortunately or unfortunately, because there are many benefits to a woman being a part of the workforce in terms of independence and so on. However, there are also uh, ramifications or consequences to that, and one of them
Mm-hmm.
is that there is less time to spend with your children. Whereas in the past, in an older, more traditional setting, you would have a nuclear family with the man being the breadwinner, and the
Mm-hmm.
mother would have all the time in the world to spend with her children how, before they go out to school. However, for many women, by the time the child is 6 months old, sometimes less, they have to return to work. And it places some pressure on women, and it does affect the way in which breastfeeding is done. And I know that you will be speaking about what support can be provided within the workplaces and what women can do in order to ensure that breastfeeding continues even after they have returned to work?
So, yes, so the baby, I mean, it is now time for you to return to work as a breastfeeding mother. And what can be done? So, it is important. There are some strategies that can be employed in terms of expressing breast milk for later use. So, whilst I mean you are at home on your maternity leave, you'd have had a few weeks or maybe months. Whilst you are breastfeeding the baby, you can also start to store breast milk. Do you know that breast milk, it can be stored? Yes, so you can store a supply of milk. So whilst you're at home, you can do that. And you can express the milk. Some persons, they do it manually, or you can use a breast pump in order to express milk, and it can be stored safely in the refrigerator, or it can be frozen. You can put it in the freezer for varying lengths of time depending on the storage and the location. So freshly expressed breast milk, it can stay at room temperature for up to 4 hours, and in the refrigerator up to 4 days. And stored, it can be stored in the back of the fridge, so you don't put it in the front, you put it in the back of the fridge. And even if you put it in the freezer, it can stay up to 6 months, even as long as 12 months. So mothers, do not be too perturbed. You can store and you can refrigerate that milk for the baby when you return to work. So that is one thing that can be done. As you return to work, you can store the breast milk. Also, in terms of maybe arranging for a childcare or daycare near to your workplace, if that is feasible, and during your breaks, you can go and breastfeed your baby. I used to do that when my son was at preschool. I would go to the school and breastfeed, maybe take him in the car and breastfeed him. The child breastfed up until 3 years. He was in preschool and he was still being breastfed. Yes, so that can be arranged, to have a daycare close to your work, choose a daycare close to your workplace. So within your break time, your lunch time, you can run quickly and breastfeed the child. Um, Maybe negotiating with flexible working hours. I mean, if at work your employer, you can arrange with your employer for that as well. um, and of course, being able to have a routine in terms of pumping and having that milk there. So you want to establish a pumping and a breastfeeding routine so you can have enough or sufficient milk when you return to work and the baby is in the care of somebody else.
So some women, they go out to work and they spend the entire day at work and their breast gets so full. So it would also be a good idea to have a space within the workplace, a private space where they can express, so that, because it's very uncomfortable to have your breast ready to burst and you have nowhere to put it.
Right.
So express it and then they can take it home at the end of the day, freeze it, take it home in their cooler or whatever the case may be.
Yes, so that is where now the support from the employers can come in. They can support, employers can support breastfeeding, by providing, like you said, the space. So in terms of space, employers can provide a nice little clean private space, not in a toilet, but a nice clean private space. And I just want to say that when you travel and you see different experiences, and I would have gone to Taiwan for a period of time, and I see they provide breastfeeding spaces even on in the train station. Everywhere you turn, you find there are breastfeeding spaces for mothers in Taiwan. And that was so
Very
very,
interesting.
very interesting. Very, very interesting. So, it doesn't have to be too hard, too difficult for employers to provide a nice, clean, and private space for, breastfeeding mothers or employees, right? You can equip that little space with a comfortable chair, a table, a power outlet, because if it is a breastfeeding pump, some of them are electrical, so you would need a power outlet in order to be able to do that, a refrigerator for storing the milk. So these are things that employers can do in order to support breastfeeding. Provide access to a sink, for washing the palms or even the hands. So all of these are things that employers can do in order to support breastfeeding.
That is very interesting, and I'm not sure. I don't think I've ever seen a breastfeeding station. Are you aware of any on island?
No,
Like
I'm not.
those
I don't think you have them.
I
that
don't think so. That
special
does not exist. I don't think that
breastfeeding station?
exists.
I'm sure that at some workplaces, even though the person may not actually have an office, maybe their co-workers with a
Mm-hmm.
private space may allow them to use the space to
Mm-hmm.
to express their
Press.
milk and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But
I don't think that exists.
I
I'm
don't
I'm
think
not aware.
I'm
I'm not aware that this
aware of
exists.
any. I'm
I'm
not aware
not
of
sure.
any. So it's really
I'm
something
not
that
aware either.
taken into consideration, particularly in
Consideration.
we start with the very large business places where there's a lot of staff, because you know that it will be
Mm-hmm.
used.
Mm-hmm.
For the
Exactly.
smaller employers, then it may be that you may just need to make an office available in the
Mm-hmm.
time instead of actually having a full station. If you have 6 employees, you
Mm-hmm.
have 4 female employees.
It's like a breast milk.
Yeah.
See, like a breast milk, like a blood bank, a breast milk bank.
No, just the space. Just the space.
Yes.
Breast
Yeah.
milk banks. And I know that
Yeah.
in the US they actually
Yes.
do that. That
Yes.
for
Yes.
Yes.
women who may have a low supply, or
Mhm.
children who are orphaned, or
Even
whatever
in
situation
Trinidad and Tobago, they have breast milk banks. Trinidad has breast
oh,
milk banks.
oh,
Yes.
really
And I
wonderful.
even talk about Brazil. Brazil has a 200 or 300 plus, 200 plus the last time, yeah, we had this workshop, breast milk banks. Imagine that. Yes.
Wow.
So Trinidad does have, I know for sure, yeah. But
So
that does not exist there.
yeah, so children who don't have it readily available can
Available.
access
Mm-hmm.
a
Yeah.
safe breast milk, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there are procedures in place to
Of
ensure
course.
that the
Of
breast
course.
milk is safe for their consumption.
Definitely, definitely.
So
Yes,
there are a lot
yes.
of possibilities of things that can be introduced in St. Lucia to get the breastfeeding, to really make it a good experience, put the support system in place. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
other thing that is very essential to that would be to have more people to have children. So, my friend to my right here, I hope that in the future I will be seeing her with 3 and 4 babies.
3 and 4 is wild.
Cons- and also considering that our fertility rate is very low in St. Lucia. So so yes, and I mean, on a more serious note, I mean, that is an issue. That is an issue. If you have an aging population and your fertility rate is low, that calls for action.
It really
Definitely.
does.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
all of those things would encourage those people within their reproductive years
Yes.
to have children and to not stop at one or two,
Mm-hmm.
have
Mm-hmm.
multiple, four
Mm-hmm.
and five and six. No, no, I'm not answering that question. No, 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 don't say that. But how many you have? How many you have? I have one. I have one. I contributed. I contributed.
Yeah, so definitely, and just going back to the support from employers. I mean, in that, if you provide that sort of space and that's sort of kind of support, I mean, there's going to be reduced absenteeism. The mothers might want to take sick leave because that the infant is sick, the baby is sick, they have to stay home and all of that. So they
Because you
have to
believe
think
that
of it
in
in
that
that way.
optimal nutrition that would reduce the risk of
Yes,
being sick
being sick.
often.
Yes, often. Yes, yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a question for Miss Campbell. We spoke about breast milk, right? And you spoke about the storage method. So you're saying that we can refrigerate our breast milk. We can even freeze it up to 12 months. Could you guide us and tell us, okay, um, when you remove that breast milk in the freezer or in the fridge, how do you warm up that milk? And will the flavor of the breast milk change?
Very
Okay,
good
so that's
question.
a very good
Very good
question.
question.
Very good. It came to me to say it, but then I was, you know, it sort
And
of
not
delayed.
just the
So
flavor, Idira, but also
The nutritional value.
very good.
the
Very good.
nutritional value. So yes, so when that milk is removed from its place of storage, like the refrigerator or the, of course, I mean, if it is in the freezer, you have to take it out and it has to be thawed out. All right. Then after it is thawed out, you do not boil breast milk because it's going to change the whole component. It is going to change it. So the way that breast milk has to be prepared for the baby, well, not prepared, but I mean, it has to be warmed up. You put in a pan of water, hot water, a boiling water, and you let the breast milk sit in the water for for some time, maybe a few minutes. And after that is done, you do not shake it like you shake in a bottle with formula in it. You swirl it around because that in itself can change the composition. It can change the texture of the milk. So, in giving the baby that milk, like I said, you do not directly put it to heat. You put it in a pan of hot water, boiling water, and you let it stay there for a few minutes, let it get warmed up, and then you swirl it, and then you give to the baby. Okay? So that is how it is done.
Does that answer your question, Idira?
It
Or
does.
you
So that
want
means
some more
microwaving
elaboration?
is not an option, right? To put the bottle in the microwave.
No, definitely not. It is
All
not. It is
right.
going to change the whole texture and of of the milk, the nutritional value of it. And if breast milk, of course, it is stored like any other food or item for a long period of time. Eventually, I mean, over a long period of time, it may change its nutritional value. You understand? If it is done for a lengthy period of time. But within the 1 year in the freezer, the 4 days in the refrigerator, etc., it doesn't. It doesn't. It is how you handle it after you would have stored it for that period of time. It is very, very critical.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Wonderful, Idira. I like to see that you became so
Yes.
comfortable that you know
Yes.
questions and very good questions at that.
Yes. Very good questions.
So,
Mm.
Fadia, I think we've come to we've actually a little bit overstayed today, but I know Ellen
Yes.
does not have a problem with that at all. Is there
Wow.
anything is there anything you would like to add before we wrap up?
I just want to encourage, well, that will be part of my wrapping up. Encourage mothers to breastfeed. It is a wonderful experience, and I am saying that from my experience. Yes, there are challenges, but if we come together as a family and the support is there within the healthcare system, employers, I mean, at home, it can be a wonderful experience. So I just want to encourage mothers to breastfeed because just think about the benefits. Your children, they would have a higher IQ, very bright children. And I know we all want our children to perform well. We want them to be intelligent children. So studies have shown that children who are breastfed tend to have higher IQs, you know, even with the bonding aspect. I just want to throw that in a little. Studies now showing that children that were denied breast milk or breastfeeding, they are more likely to be in gangs and be violent because I don't know, they would have missed out on that bonding experience that we would have discussed earlier. So there are a number of benefits that are associated with breastfeeding. So as much as you can do it, you do it, and you do it, with everything that you have.
And I would like to add something that we have a comment here again from Rena Butcher, and it's something that you mentioned, and I think it's important to reiterate as we end that support is key. Support within different areas, the health facilities, the home, the family, and the workplace. Support is key for a successful breastfeeding journey.
Amen. Yes, yes, yes.
And my friend here, is there anything you'd like to say before we end,
Okay, so
Idira?
we gained a wealth of knowledge today. Meaning I also gained a wealth of knowledge from the two persons over here who has experience more than I do. So like Nurse Butcher said, we need to remember that breastfeeding is best feeding. So it's better than the bottle. And we spoke about the money aspect of it, which everybody should take advantage of. For
While
me,
we
I would.
can.
Right. So just thank you. I just want to say thank you so much, Mrs. Campbell, firstly, for this wonderful opportunity where it could have expanded my knowledge on breastfeeding for future reference, of course. And also, Miss Minville, thank you so much for having me.
You are most welcome, Idira,
Welcome.
and I would like to say that you did an excellent job.
Thank you.
You
I
came
tried.
in a very nervous intern, a very nervous intern, very reluctant to be part of the program, but you did an excellent job.
Excellent.
Pardon, Ulla? Okay, and I would also like to thank Erlen for his contribution. Erlen actually asked a question earlier where he asked, so Fawn, you're asking her to make so many trends, you're going to finance it. So, so and Fadia had mentioned that breastfeeding is one of the ways that you can save money. Raising children is very expensive.
Yes, yes.
So you save a little in the beginning, and then you got that money that you saved from breastfeeding. It can go into something else,
Right.
right?
Definitely.
Hopefully, for those who are able to get that ball rolling and to actually do it. So thank you again to our guest, Mrs. Campbell. Thank you, Idira, for being
You're most
here.
welcome.
Thank you to Miss Rena Butcher for following the
Yes.
program and for your contributions. And thank you to all of you who tuned in today. I hope it was a good experience for you. And we look forward to you tuning in next week for another edition of Casualty 911 on 88.5 Super FM. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you.